In the tense Mediterranean waters of late 1942, an American flag rippled above the deck of a submarine, her hull cutting through enemy-controlled seas. The Union Jack had been carefully stowed away, and in the submarine's control room, two captains stood side by side, one American, one British, united in a mission that could alter the course of the war in North Africa. As she glided through the darkness toward the French coast, her British crew practiced their American accents, mimicking lines from Hollywood films. Every detail of their deception had to be perfect. Their mission's success, and perhaps the fate of the Allied war effort, depended on convincing a single French officer that HMS Seraph was something she was not. Each of the thousands of ships in the Royal Navy during World War II belonged to a distinct role. Some carried vital supplies, others hunted in packs to sink enemies or clashed with the mightiest of enemy warships. But a select few relied not on firepower, but on deception and precision, performing operations so unusual they defied belief. One of these was HMS Seraph. Named after the highest order of angels in Christian theology, the S-class submarine was launched on October 25, 1941, sliding into the water for the first time, her steel hull gleaming with promise. The submarines of her class were built to navigate the narrow and shallow waters of Europe's coastal regions. Armed with 6 21-inch torpedo tubes and a 3-inch deck gun, she was versatile enough to attack enemy shipping, lay mines, and conduct surveillance, all with a maximum surface speed of 13 knots and a submerged speed of 10 knots. Though the Royal Navy launched over 60 S-class submarines throughout the conflict, most focused on traditional roles, hunting ships, laying mines, and gathering intelligence. But HMS Seraph was destined for something far more unusual, and none would carry a legacy quite like hers. On May 27, 1942, a month before her official commissioning, Lieutenant Norman Bill Limbury Auchinleck Jewell took command of the 200-foot HMS Seraph and her 44-man crew. From the get-go, Bill was well liked by his fellow officers. According to his second-in-command, Lieutenant David Scott, the leader was, quote, the epitome of what a submarine captain should be. Quite fearless, he was invariably cool and calculating. Not long after joining the fight, Seraph had a very close call when an RAF plane mistakenly opened fire on her, sustaining only minor damage. On another occasion, Jewell spotted what he believed to be a U-boat and quickly ordered a torpedo strike. It was only after the target was obliterated in an explosion that upon closer inspection, the enemy submarine turned out to be a whale. But the lieutenant's challenges weren't limited to the seas. Shortly after taking command, he fell down a hatch on board Seraph. It wouldn't be until years later that he'd learn the full extent of the injury: 2 fractured vertebrae. Unknowingly, the lieutenant was about to lead Seraph through operation after operation, all with a broken back. During the preparations for the Allied landings in North Africa, aka Operation Torch, Seraph saw her first combat mission. For 2 tense weeks in late September 1942, Jewell and his men performed a periscope reconnaissance tour of the Algerian coastline, moving silently through the waters, gathering critical intelligence on enemy defenses and coastal positions. Not even a month later, she was tasked with transporting American General Mark Clark and his team to secret negotiations with Vichy French officers in Algeria. Clark's mission was to persuade French forces to either join the Allied effort or remain neutral during the impending invasion. This covert operation, known as Operation Flagpole, began on October 19, 1942, where, under cover of darkness, Lieutenant Bill Jewell guided Seraph to a remote location, approximately 50 miles west of Algiers. Using collapsible canoes, Clark's party, assisted by 3 members of the British Special Boat Section, left the submarine and paddled toward the shore, intent on their mission. Clark's meeting successfully secured the French agreement, despite initial resistance from the Navy. Meanwhile, Seraph lay submerged in deep water throughout the day, remaining vigilant and waiting for the men to return. But when the time came to recover the party, the seas around Algiers had grown unnaturally rough, and Jewell skillfully maneuvered Seraph through the surf, bringing her so close to shore that the hull scraped against the rocks below. Once the submarine was close enough, Clark and his team, drenched by the waves, scrambled back into the canoes and paddled frantically towards her. After days of careful navigation, Seraph safely returned to Gibraltar on October 25th. 2 days after returning to Gibraltar, HMS Seraph and Lieutenant Commander Bill Jewell were dispatched for Operation Kingpin. They aimed to extract the renowned French general Henri Giraud from Vichy-controlled territory. Having narrowly escaped German captivity, he was now under house arrest in Toulon, and his support was crucial to the Allied effort, as his influence could galvanize pro-Allied factions in Oran and Casablanca, reducing French resistance ahead of the planned invasion. But there was a massive complication. Giraud vehemently refused to deal with the British in any sort of way. To address this, Prime Minister Winston Churchill devised a clever subterfuge to appease the general. With no American vessel within 3,000 miles, the submarine underwent a unique transformation, becoming USS Seraph. Complete with the United States Navy ensign, the submarine had 2 captains, American Captain Gerald Wright, who worked to complement the facade, while Jewell retained complete operational control, navigating the mission with the precision and calm for which he was known. On their way to France, the British crew took their roles in the deception to heart, even attempting to mimic American accents they'd picked up from their favorite characters in films. As Seraph patrolled the southern coast of France, waiting for the signal that would pinpoint the pickup location, for days, the submarine glided silently through enemy waters, her crew scanning the horizon. Finally, on the night of November 5th, the submarine reached the designated rendezvous point, 20 miles east of Toulon. While the ruse didn't work from the get-go, as Giraud had already been briefed about the deception by Captain Gerald Wright, tensions were eased significantly, and the French general, accompanied by his son and 3 staff officers, stepped aboard. With Seraph having successfully secured her precious cargo, it was time to return to Gibraltar for a crucial meeting. The journey back to safety quickly went wrong when a malfunction with the submarine's main radio severed contact with her base. For 2 days, Seraph roamed the waters, evading enemy detection, all while carrying some of the most valuable passengers of the entire war. On November 7th, the passengers were finally transferred to a waiting PBY Catalina flying boat sent to locate the submarine after losing communication. Once in Gibraltar, where the Torch headquarters were, Giraud met with Mark Clark and Dwight D. Eisenhower. While the general initially resisted cooperating unless he was granted command of the entire operation, he eventually agreed to support the Allied effort. With one more successful covert operation under her belt, on November 24th, the once again Royal Navy's Seraph sailed on her first war patrol in the Mediterranean, joining other submarines in carrying U.S. and British commandos for operations in the area. In December, the submarine carried out a secret reconnaissance mission of the German-occupied Mediterranean island of Galita, assessing its viability for a commando assault. Accompanied by Bill Darby, commander of the 1st Ranger Battalion, Seraph took photographs but faced shore fire before the operation, which was ultimately deemed impossible due to a lack of available troops. On her way back, Seraph engaged enemy submarines, ramming one and firing torpedoes at 3 others. After Kingpin, Seraph returned to northern England for a much-needed overhaul and leave. Now, with Clark and Giraud's support secured, all thanks to Seraph, it was time for the greatest deception of them all, Operation Mincemeat. During a briefing with the Admiralty, Jewell learned that the operation's goal was an audacious gamble to convince the High Command that the Allies' next move was an invasion of Greece and Sardinia rather than Sicily. If successful, it would force Germany to divert precious resources and give the other side the upper hand. On a moonless night in April 1943, Seraph was entrusted with her most unusual passenger yet, Major William Martin, an unidentified corpse inside a metal canister, packed in dry ice, dressed in the uniform of a Royal Marine officer and carrying falsified documents. Now, it was the submarine's mission to deliver the body to the Spanish coastline in a way that Axis-aligned authorities would casually discover it. In the early hours of April 30th, HMS Seraph surfaced off the coast of Spain near the port of Huelva. The crew worked swiftly, releasing the body and its briefcase into the water and disposing of the canister in deeper waters. Around the man's neck hung a chain with a silver cross and identification tags bearing the name William Martin. The briefcase contained carefully curated items: keys, bank receipts, and a letter from Martin's father, all designed to establish a believable story. Most importantly, it held documents suggesting an Allied invasion targeting Sardinia and Greece. On their way back to Gibraltar, Jewel radioed the signal, quote, "Mincemeat completed." Sure enough, early in the morning, the body was spotted by a local fisherman who quickly notified the local authorities, and the documents were passed on to German intelligence. Believing the falsified plans, Hitler ordered reinforcements to Greece and Sardinia, leaving Sicily vulnerable. On August 17, 1943, Allied forces, led by General Patton and Field Marshal Montgomery, successfully captured Sicily, securing a crucial foothold in Europe with fewer casualties than anticipated. With this mission, considered one of the most daring and successful deceptions in history, HMS Seraph had once again proven herself and her crew. Seraph returned to the Mediterranean, patrolling east of Sardinia and launching torpedo attacks on enemy convoys near the Strait of Bonifacio. Though none of these attempts were successful, she emerged unscathed, and her crew remained unharmed. Even aside from her special operations, she sank 7,000 tons of enemy shipping under Jewel's command and damaged another 10,000, proving her effectiveness in both stealth missions and direct combat. In the summer, during the Allied invasion of Sicily, Seraph slipped toward the Sicilian coast, with the mission to drop a buoy carrying a radar device just 1,000 yards from the beach at Gela. This would work as a guide for the destroyer's leading landing craft, packed with Allied troops. As dawn approached, Seraph was lingering dangerously close to shore when a German E-boat appeared through the fog, forcing the crew to dive quickly to avoid detection. Soon after, the enemy ship disappeared, and with the device working flawlessly, the mission ensured the first wave reached its target. For his part in Operation Husky, where Seraph acted as an essential beacon, Lieutenant Jewel was awarded the United States Legion of Merit. That same year, the leader was also appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire for his, quote, skill, daring, and cool judgment while executing special operations. Seraph continued hunting convoys in the Mediterranean for the rest of the year. After a much-needed refit, she was transformed in 1944 to mimic Germany's newest high-speed 21-class U-boats. Though no longer on the front lines, Seraph became a crucial asset to anti-submarine warfare trials. Seraph's story didn't end with the war. In 1956, the submarine starred as herself in the British film The Man Who Never Was, bringing her legendary exploits during Operation Mincemeat to the silver screen. Finally, on October 25, 1962, exactly 21 years after her launch, HMS Seraph, a submarine whose legacy spanned both the battlefield and cultural history, was decommissioned from the Royal Navy.